Hey, guess what? I'm alive. I'm live. I'm live. I'm live. Yeah, hello. So, what else is going on? Hmm? Well, as I said, there's a news, maybe the same headlines I give to the posted video. That's why I don't know why I'm doing one and both of them. I have to figure out what a priority for this situation. Um, there's a new peace proposal. It's coming from Iran this time, so I see what that's about. You know, they're actually dealing from a point of strength, really. I think, since the majority of U.S. bases in the Gulf have been attacked. And what does that mean? That means that there is a few $1 billion that's got to be shed to bring everything back up to snuff. I don't know how much actual aircraft equipment was destroyed, but you know those planes are worth billions of dollars apiece. So you know, I don't know. I never understood that why the military gets charged. They have to pay for that. Why don't they just have their own factories building this stuff? Doesn't make sense. AI will do that. They'll have their own factories building their own AI models soon. So that's a story we'll get to in a few minutes. But it's the majority of the U.S. bases that were hit. It's like something like in the neighborhood of 16. And that's for something that's we're such a superior military. We've been pretty bad by these guys. That's what I always look back at when Russia invaded Afghanistan. You know, and the rebels, the Mujahideen, took down that Hind helicopter, which at the time was the heaviest armored and most powerful helicopter in the world, by throwing rocks at it. They would get they would get on the top of the cliffs of the valley, and as the helicopters came down through the valley, attacking basically the suicide guys that were down there to draw their fire, they throw these big rocks and hit the props and take them down. That's till it now. Then eventually they got rocketry and whatnot from the CIA. That was Bin Laden, and that was a mistake. Not really a mistake. Bin Laden just didn't wanted the country to be completely independent. He didn't want military bases in the Persian Gulf and whatnot. And he has a point, but that's taking things to the extreme. But still, when I see that, I, I think we don't understand the mentality of these people. They used to say that if you shot an innocent man, a non-combatant in Afghanistan, you created over 100 martyrs that would could turn into suicide soldiers. It was just a crazy religion and everything that you're dealing with over there, and a fanaticism. And remember, this kind of stuff's been going on since before Jesus Christ. It's tribal over there. It always was. I don't care whether you've got, if it wasn't true, you wouldn't have all these princes in Saudi Arabia and everything. It's just to control the people. It's a royal family. It's a mess. We don't know how to deal with it. That's the problem. And I don't know how to tell you to deal with it. I'm definitely not a politician. I don't like politics. Involved with politics because of my mom for a few years, and I didn't like any of it. I actually stayed out of the city of East Orange, where I was the person in politics. I just stayed away from everything. I just didn't want anything to deal with it. It was just really, it's pathetic. It's hard to describe, but it's pathetic. Lying, cheating, uh, doing whatever they can. Okay. Now, if you remember, I don't know how many years ago, it wasn't that long ago, a few years, 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years ago, the Saudi Arabia developed a new golf league, and it was going to be based over that part of the world, and they were going to and they were paying these guys a lot of money, and the purses were huge and everything because these guys got nothing to do with their money over there, to count it. So that was a big deal, and they got a few top pros that go over there, not many, you know. And the PGA got pissed off, said you can't play in our tournament, but then they allowed them into things like the Open, and so I don't know what the deal was. That was sort of a joke. Well, they collapsed, so there's no Saudi Arabian golf league anymore, and golf tour rather. So the PGA says, well, we'll take back the golfers, but they're going to do it on a case by case basis, and it's going to cost them money. Trust me. And I don't know how many of them are actually going to come back. If they're rich enough, I'd retire. Who wants to play these stupid little games? You're playing golf. Golf is, a big sport. If you want to play it, fine. I got nothing against it. I got nothing against the tours or anything else. But if you're going to go out there and turn it into a political game, fuck it. Who needs it? I guess these guys do. They're like football players. They don't have anything else to do with their lives. That's why you see Jack Nicklaus there involved in golf and everything, the tournaments and financing golf courses and what have you. And the tech companies are vying for the control of your minds and souls. All right. The company leadership believes that if they control AI, they can control a lot more than just that. They think that they're going to be the ones in control, and AI is going to prove to be a better negotiator, and AI is going to learn one thing, and that's the problem. It learns. And the problem is that eventually it's going to learn that humans are unnecessary and actually a danger to AI's existence. They might need a few to keep around to, do some oiling or something like that of the manufacturing plants they have. But as a whole, they don't need these people. And they're not going to pay you if you work for them. They'll enslave you. You could see it in the Terminator movies, and people don't remember, how movies have influenced the imagination of the guys building stuff, all right? And how close to the future they are at the time. They built the Disney produced a movie based on a book by Jules Verne called 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. In that book, I don't know whether it was the movie, if it was in the book or the book came first or the movie came first, but what the deal was. But the original atomic submarine was called the Nautilus. And it was, that submarine was in that book years before they built the atomic submarine. So that book was a prediction of what was to come in terms of that kind of technological advantage, So they sit around and people who say, no, they can't take my job. Well, the deal is if once AI controls the robotic industry and the manufacture of robots, which they will within 10 years, probably sooner than that, at the rate they're expanding right now. And the technology is growing with the help of AI, by the way. They're not going to need anybody, except, as I said, maybe a few guys to oil it. It's not going to be a necessity. And if you look scientists in the eye and say, what's the greatest danger to humanity? And they'll say, we are. We're self-destructive. We're unbelievably violent. And we are the only species other than the shark, which is a very peanut-brained animal, that hunts for sport rather than just food, I don't think the American Indian or most of the Aborigines in this world on our planet hunt for sport. I don't know if there's a tribe that does that. Individuals might do it, but as a whole, they hunt and only kill what they need to sustain themselves. And then the white man came over here, and all of a sudden it was greed. The Indians didn't know what greed was really. They knew what desire was. They knew that they wanted things, and a lot of times other people had them, and they were big little combat situations, and things would relatively stay on a low key. But the white man came over, and the white man, of course, knew how to make weapons of mass destruction, and they tried to a little genocide, But just like Israel's finding out, genocide, and Israel should understand that the Jewish religion wasn't destroyed by German genocide. So I don't know how Israel thinks they're going to control the Arabs and whatnot by all the various tribes that are over there by doing genocide. But remember, that's what they're going after. The Jewish religion had tribes too, and I think they still do. I don't know, but I do. I think they call them sects now or something like that. There's different sects within the Jewish religion, but there's just it's a crazy situation because AI doesn't need us. That's the thing. You see, we need other individuals. When we do genocide or something like that, we still need human beings. But when AI decides it wants to wipe the human race out, it doesn't need humans. Once they reach a level that they can develop robots to do everything that a human can on a construction level, and then their brains are already superior to ours, will they make the mistake of building, allowing the lower class robots and stuff like that to learn to be, to desire things, to learn greed? If they do that, then they're going to have the same problems that we're having with AI. They're going to have it with themselves, and they will probably destroy themselves. Eventually, the only thing left on this planet, hopefully, is the animal kingdom. They get along pretty well. They understand survival better than we do. So maybe that would be a really good thing, in my opinion, for the planet. But I'm not sure how long the planet's got anyhow. Nobody knows the solar system exactly when it's going to end, and it's believe in God tomorrow morning. If you don't believe in God, you don't know. I have my doubts about God based upon what I've seen the human beings do, and that's supposedly his creation in his image. Got to tell you something. You better do something. Clean up your image. You know what I'm saying? So listen here, people. I'm looking at the time because I don't like to start bullshit and then have to cut it short, But I don't know where everybody is, and nobody's showing up to watch my videos. So if that goes the same pace that it is the rest of this week, through next week, that'll be the end of my vlog. I won't be doing any more live videos because it's just live videos are time consuming, and it's basically the same stuff I do on my other videos, unless somebody comes on the air and makes a comment or asks a specific question or what have you. First of the month, I guess, is kind of bad for everybody. You're busy paying bills. I will be paying my bills when I get off the air. I'm actually going to have an easy day because my wife's not here, which means I get to eat when I want, do what I want, say what I want, watch what I want, So she's gotten more and more. Well, she's not even like my mother. My mother was nicer. All right, listen. I do these things live. Whether I don't edit anything. All right. And I there's an edit button on the screen here, and I'm saying if you're doing a live video, why would you edit it? It's just this is spontaneous. This you can communicate to me while I'm doing it. It's a stream. This is a stream, a live stream. The other one, you got all day to look at it. You can download it. You can print out a section of it. Could throw darts at it. Don't throw anything at your monitors, though. That they can get rather expensive. I sat on one. This is an all-in-one computer, and I broke one, and it got that was a very expensive proposition. I don't know. It just kind of fell, when I was cleaning. So I don't clean anymore. I don't move anything anymore. I let somebody else do it because then they have to pay for it if they break it. All right, I've had enough of this fun and games for the day. I'll be here tomorrow, and if you think of something you want to talk about tomorrow, let me know. Post it to YouTube's comments on my video over there, and we'll sit around and have a talk about it tomorrow. In the meantime, guys, take care of yourselves, and I will see you tomorrow.